Welcome to Fearlessly Made You. I am your host, Kristie Tobias. Joining me today are guests just striving to dominate in their personal and professional lives while answering the question, what does it mean to be fearlessly made? On this episode of Fearlessly Made You, I am super excited to have not one, but two guests with me today. But before we jump into the episode, I first want to remind you guys, as always, Fearlessly Made You is a spinoff of my book of the same name, Fearlessly Made You, which, as that reminder, is about my journey with post-traumatic stress disorder and really talking through those traumatic, stressful, uncomfortable moments that sometimes we don't get the opportunity to really just vulnerably display and talk through. And it's why I love bringing on guests, is because we get to just have those moments, those honest moments, and just be ourselves and be relatable and talk about the things that don't always feel great, but really help us connect to our stories. One of the things that I love about connecting to our stories is also the wonderful, fabulous partnerships we have, like with Dillard, who as always has styled me in these fabulous clothes, but also are part of this journey because we have had two wonderful people who've been able to share their story as well as part of that Dillard's crew. So as always, y'all, it is always so fun to bring people on that I admire, people that I really respect, just like Alex and Evin. So Alex and Evin are joining us virtually today from California. So Alex, Evin, thank you so much for joining Fearlessly Made You.
Thanks for having us.
You guys look so snuggly right now. I love it. So one of the cool things I love talking to people about is like, how do you meet your guests? Like, where does this come from? So Alex and I actually originally met. I was actually on his podcast, which was kind of amazing. And then right after the release of his podcast, he did something really bold and really cool that my mother had conversations with him about. But he did this thing called a love adventure. And so I'm going to have him talk through it, and I'm going to have him talk through him and Evin because I think there's such power in it. But it really, and I haven't told y'all this, that story, that journey that you went on, Alex, truly like motivated and inspired me. But Evin is also a fabulous coach, and I had a great opportunity to talk with both of them. I want to say this was last year, and in that conversation, or maybe early in February, in that conversation, Evin, you actually inspired me with some words that you said about like stepping out of like fearful places, like not being afraid to kind of step into like these uncomfortable spaces, especially like in dating life. And it was really inspirational to me, which is why I was like, I must have them on the podcast because there's so much value and purpose in what you both share. So all of that to say, our Fearlessly Made You crew, I know is going to be so pumped to hear y'all's stories individually, your stories together, and what that looks like. So Alex, I'll actually have you maybe just start and kind of talk a little bit about kind of how we met and what happened after our podcast episode.
Yeah, life was going along as it normally does, or as it always does. I was, recording podcasts with you, working on my coaching practice, growing my business, and dating. And I was really clear for a while that I knew what I wanted when it came to love and relationships, but I wasn't finding it. And in the not finding it, I was getting resigned. I was getting frustrated. And we all know, you've been there. We've all been there. Like, I'm done with dating. I'm deleting the apps. If I go out with one more person that's like this, right? We all hit that point if we date long enough. And I think as coaches, as leaders, if we don't step up into something bigger, how can we ever challenge other people to? How can we ever speak to that we're people of possibility if we're not speaking to possibility? And with a little tequila courage on top of all of what I just said,
yes,
I decided that I was going to, it kind of happened by accident, but I fully stepped into it. It was like, I'm going to take one woman to Tulum with me for a friend's wedding for 12 days. But here's the catch, right? Like a bachelor style kind of contest. The catch was I didn't get to pick the winner.
Right.
So I found 5 of my kind of most supportive, loving, conscious friends who wouldn't, try to sabotage this. And they got to decide what woman would be the best match for me to go to Tulum with for 2 weeks, possibly fall in love, see what happens. And it was a full-on contest. We had women from all over the world to apply. And
myself included, I did apply based on my mother's pushing.
which took bravery, right? To put I put myself out there to the world, and ignored the naysayers or the fear or the thoughts in my head that would say, don't do this, the judgment, the criticism. And it went extraordinarily well. We had, again, women from all over the world. My friends went through every application. There was an interview process back and forth. The people that applied, their friends got to interview me. So it was a two-way conversation.
Yeah.
And ultimately, at the end of the day, my friends felt that Evin was the best match for me.
Yes. And I agree with them completely. Let's be real honest.
And so did I. Luckily, right? Like, luckily, but Evin was the one that they chose. And Evin was ultimately like, I had to also then choose her. And she also had to choose me back. Mm-hmm. And that was a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
And then we moved in together shortly after. And we got engaged.
Yes. Hold on. And then we got engaged. No. And then there it is. That's what I'm looking for.
And we are in the process of planning a wedding back in Tulum, where this whole thing started, for March of 2023.
I love that.
It is really it truly was an experience of adventure and following, a passion, a desire, and not worrying about, the results or what might go wrong or what people might think or what people might say.
Yeah. I think that's powerful and so beautiful. And it's interesting because as you say that, and I've been telling my Fearlessly Made You crew, I've been leaning into emotions and being open to those. Like, it brought this like chill of like happiness, but also like it's an overwhelming emotion of you stepped out into a place of vulnerability, and not just you, Alex, but you too, Evin. And so I'm gonna shift to you too, because you on the other end, like what that journey was for you, because you're giving yourself this space to say, yeah, I want to find loved. And yeah, I'm going to put in the effort and the intention, the same effort and intention I put into my professional life, I'm going to put into my love life, which is so powerful and so inspirational. And so, Evin, on the other end, you see this love adventure and you're like, cool, I'm going to apply. Or, I'm curious, like what that looked like for you.
Yeah. Well, I had that summer, before I ever heard of Alex or this love adventure, I had set an intention for myself in my love life to get more adventurous, more brave, more playful. I just could really feel like the energy needed to be shook up, shaken up. I don't know the right way to say it.
It's perfect.
And yeah, so when a mutual friend of ours in the coaching world shared with me about Alex's this wild, adventurous dating experiment, I just really felt it resonate. Like, it was so aligned with my intention, right? And I, kind of similarly to Alex, I wasn't focused on the result, in that I didn't know him.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I have to apply to get this man.
Right.
Stalked his Instagram a little bit. It was like, maybe, I don't know.
I mean,
not really my type.
As any normal woman would, the stalking and then the rejection.
Do it. But yeah, I could just feel in myself that this opportunity felt expansive. It felt a little bit edgy, right? It felt different and unique. And I just had this sense that however it goes, I'm going to learn so much about myself. I'm going to expand what's possible for me in my love life. And it was like the best bonus ever that we connected so easily and deeply, and to have our communities involved and supporting us, which was such a powerful element.
Yeah.
Right. That oftentimes when we're dating, especially if we're using apps or we're meeting at a bar, we start connecting with someone kind of in a vacuum.
Yep.
Right. Often don't bring our communities in until we're in pretty deep with that person. And having the opportunity to connect with people in Alex's life, right, who interviewed me before him and I ever connected one-on-one, having some of my closest girlfriends vet him on my behalf, and having our communities really support us and give us honest reflections about what they saw for us. In some ways, that made the process even more vulnerable.
Absolutely.
Stepping out, it's like this was a very visible before we'd ever had a first date. Right?
By the way, here's my friends and family, just so you know. Don't know your full name yet, but that's okay. Here's some people.
Exactly. So yeah, for me, it was really just about embracing the vulnerability of it all, embracing the unknown, the lack of predictability, kind of all of the uncomfortable feelings that came with the process too, and actually celebrating that all of that meant I was doing something different. And that's what really excited me. And ultimately that's what created a relationship that's so far beyond what either of us have ever experienced before.
I love it. And I love being able, so I definitely followed y'all's journey. Like after Alex announced who it was, I followed the journey because I was so invested. Just Alex, because our episode, the episode I got to film with you, I really loved it. I think I just really appreciated the person that you were. And I thought we had a really great dialogue. And I was like, this is a cool human. So I'm going to follow what the journey looks like for you because you did step out in that boldness. And I think I even told you, I was like, I may consider doing something like this myself. And it's funny because my mom and I are having this conversation because my mother talked to Alex via social media because that's my mom and she's amazing, but she was just investigating this journey. But one of the things she told me early on as we were just talking in general, or not early on, like recently as we were talking in general about y'all's journey was, there's something powerful about having the right people at the table for the conversations with the people you want to have in your life. And I feel like a lot of us, and I can say this for many members of our Fearlessly Made You crew, a lot of us go through relationships almost like in this like mode of, okay, guess I'm going to try this one out. And that intentionality is not there. And y'all both put intention into a space that is very vulnerable, but that intention made it different. And so one of the cool things that I love about the both of you is you both are coaches. And so I think that also builds a really positive foundation for what you're able to kind of bring forward, which we'll talk a little bit more about kind of some of the things that you guys are doing together. But Evin, my conversation with you at this moment, sorry, Alex, I'm going to shift you to the side for a minute. Just walk away, take the dog. No, I'm just kidding. The dog can stay, actually. The dog can always stay. No, and it really is a question for both of you. But Evin, I'm curious for you as well, because from a coaching lens, like I think our Fearlessly Made You crew, and it is, we have a lot of women, especially that listen to Fearlessly Made You and that watch it. So would love for them to hear a little bit more about kind of not just your background from a coaching lens, but some of those, pieces of the puzzle for you as you kind of stepped into this space of vulnerability that you maybe gave yourself your own coaching and advice to kind of be open. So I think people would really love to hear more about that.
Yeah, sure. Well, there's so much in that question. But the first thing that comes to mind for me is really shifting my relationship to what it means for me to feel safe. Mm-hmm. So often when we're talking about fear, what we're really talking about is our desire to feel safe, right? Like we're afraid of, let's say we're afraid of getting really vulnerable, or we're afraid of putting ourselves out there, or we're afraid of people's judgment, or we're afraid of getting our heart broken, whatever it is, right? We're actually afraid that we're not going to feel safe to do those things.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, opening ourselves up to love, opening ourselves up to a new connection, there is an inherent risk of getting hurt, of getting our heart broken, of being disappointed, of getting rejected, of being judged. We can't avoid those risks.
Absolutely.
Unless we just take ourselves out of the game completely.
True.
Shut ourselves off, right? And shut our hearts. But for those of us who really want love and connection, we have to be willing to kind of embrace that those risks are
embracing the risk right there.
That's right. To embrace that those risks are inherent. And for me, it was really building this relationship with myself where I said, okay, those things are all totally possible in opening myself up.
Yeah.
And I built this inner, this safety within myself, right? That allowed me to feel like I could open up to those risks and know that I would be okay.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah.
For me, what that really looked like is like having my own love, having my own back, right? So before I went through a lot of my own personal development work, empowerment work, when I was dating years ago, I was so, I attached my worth so much to validation, acceptance, approval from other people that if I did get rejected or if I really got my hopes up with someone and it didn't work out, I would make that mean something about myself, right? It would take such a
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So that had me not really feel safe in that area of my life, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a huge consequence, not just losing a person you went on a few dates with, but losing your confidence, your self-worth, your own love, your own approval of
Yeah.
yourself.
And
So
that's terrifying because it's attached to someone and you don't know where their space is at. So now it's taken away from you when it is yours, but it's hard to pull that back in.
right, exactly. Yeah. So that has been so much of my journey. It was just building those inner resources and that solidness within myself so that I could feel like, you know what? Yes, this is vulnerable. Yes, this is risky. And if the worst case happens, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I've got myself. I can move forward and I've got my community to support me. Right. So building that inner safety, I think just allows us to expand so much further in every area of our lives.
I love that. I love the building our inner safety because it's interesting. And so that you guys know, and we'll talk about this as well. You know, Alex and Evin have partnered together in a way that and they'll talk more about this, that they are helping others build their own inner safety, but really think about what their own love journey looks like. And so I had the opportunity to be part of a couple calls with Evin and Alex, and I had to actually tell myself, and I didn't tell you guys this because I hadn't processed it yet, that there's a lot of healing that I realized I hadn't done from my past relationships, and there's a lot of pain and a lot of hurt. And I realized I wasn't in a space to receive any type of relationship until that healing, because that safe space, whereas I myself am so confident and strong in who I am as a person. I know myself. I'm quite self-aware of it. My love life is a hot mess because of, I say that so flippantly, but a lot of it was because of exactly what you just said, Evin. And I think you said it so eloquently. It's like I allowed other people to take pieces of me and I gave them the authority to do that. And so getting it back is a journey that I was like, oh, I'm good. I'm done with those guys. I'm releasing guys. It's like, or are you blocking because you don't feel safe? And it's a lot of that I'm realizing more so now than ever. And especially being, closer to 40 than I am 30 now, there's that, oh, I've gotten to a place where I don't want anyone to rock my boat right now. And so it was truly like the processing after one of our last conversations. I was like, oh, I do need to think through like what that means. So I think that there's such power in you saying that, having to build that safe space and rebuild it, because it is a dynamic journey. And for those of you that are kind of like hearing this and having this conversation with yourself of like, oh, that explains so much about me. I mean, I think what I would love for us to talk about next too, though, is, and Alex, I'd love for you to kind of talk to further about like your own coaching and your own personal development as well, because I think there's value in that. And then I'd love for y'all to kind of dive into a little bit of where the two of you have kind of met and what that looks like from a coaching lens. But Alex, I think so many people would love to know too, your own, like your coaching world, your personal development, and kind of getting yourself to this space as well.
I think the simple thing is that we're all the same. We all want to be loved. We all want safety. We all want to feel good about ourselves. And for me, women, money, like job status, those were the things that brought me self-worth. So it was, or, cars, things like that. So it was trying to get those things made me feel good. And if I didn't have those things, then like you're distracting yourself with other things that are substitutes for them. So it could be the exact same thing, right? If I can't find the love of a woman that I want, then I need to find the attention of a woman to fill my time so I can feel good about myself. I need to drive a good car so I can feel a certain way. I need to have a certain job title or make a certain amount of money. But ultimately, those things have us feel good for a moment. But after that hit of dopamine or that feeling wears off, we're right back where we were. And so it's like constantly having to take drugs over and over again, but the drugs are people, money, they're things that actually have different types of consequences than an actual drug. And I hit a point where I just realized I couldn't keep living like this. Like I could have all the success in the world and I was still unhappy and unfulfilled. And what's the point of being successful? The whole reason we want to make money, that we want to get married, that we want to achieve things is so we'll feel good.
Yeah.
So when we're achieving things and getting things and then not feeling good, it like defeats the purpose. And why would we do all that hard work to then not actually even have the result we want?
Yeah.
I do a lot of work now with men around masculinity because our experience of masculinity is so convoluted and so distorted that I think that's the number one thing getting in the way of not only men and women having the relationships that they want, but it's actually the thing getting in the way of men having the experience of life that they want.
Oh, that's powerful.
So men's experience of masculinity is learned from, right, the dads that didn't exist, that aren't there, the dads that are there that learned it from their dads who either weren't there or didn't know how to do it.
Right.
Or it comes from that old world of like masculinity is this like tough strength, hard work, tough it out, brush it off. What can you like struggle with to achieve? The man's in charge, right? There's this like all these dated paradigms. And men have pushed all their femininity out.
Yeah.
All the feelings, all their emotions, all the trust, all the faith, all the creativity. It's all become logic brain, what I can do, what actions can I take? And so men are struggling in their relationships. They're struggling connecting with their kids. They're struggling with themselves. They're struggling in their careers. And the work that I did to get myself here to create this experience, to create this relationship with Evin was really to clean up my relationship to my masculinity so that I think of it like a scale. Yeah. Your masculine and your feminine should be balanced 50-50. And sometimes you lean more into one and it does that kind of teeter totter. But because of our society, it's like masculine for most of us, even for women, is the weight is all there, and we find little ways to bring in the feelings and the energy. And I had to learn that it was okay to feel, that anger was okay, that sadness was okay, that healing, that shame, like all these feelings I had to actually learn so I could start to balance that energetic polarity. Yeah. Which makes relationship possible. Then Evin can also do the same. Evin can feel safer, right? Me taking care of myself in that way and balancing myself has Evin feel safer. So then Evin can be more of the person she wants to be, which then fuels right back into me and lets me be more of the person I want to be, which then fuels back into her. And I think that's all our relationships, right? Even if you're a parent listening to this and you're not taking care of yourself, then your kids don't feel safe. So then they're not able to be who they really are. Yeah. They become some version of a safety mechanism, a survival mechanism. Does that, so I think that journey and healing ourselves is really what makes the life that we want possible.
I love that because it is, I talk a lot about balance and fear and where all of those intertwine for us to be able to live that, fearless journey. So not being without fear, but not letting that fear own you, right? And I think both of you have expressed that so beautifully in that rooting in that personal development, identifying what that balance looks like. Alex, I love that. I love that scaling because I think that makes so much sense. And so now y'all are kind of building this foundation together of work. And I'd love, because I think everyone on the Fearlessly Made You crew would love to hear a little more about, you guys have come together, you've built a personal relationship, but now you've also have a little bit of a professional relationship going on too. So why don't you talk a little bit about that with us?
Yeah. So we, as like you mentioned, so many people, we were so moved by how many people tuned in and were following along with our personal journey, and not just following along to be supportive, which was really sweet for us, but also how many people were getting their own inspiration or seeing what was possible for them, right? And we had so many people reaching out to us saying, how do I create this for myself? Or can you create this for me? Can you help me? I'm over the dating apps, or I'm starting to see that I'm stuck in these patterns in dating, and I really want to create a breakthrough here. Help. help me do that in a way that also feels fun and adventurous, and isn't just me sitting and talking about what I'm doing wrong, or where my patterns stem from week after week, right? I want to move forward. So Alex and I collaborated and created a program together that we've been running throughout 2022 and having so much fun and seeing wild success with our clients inside of this group program called Your Love Adventure, where we are really helping people to both look inward, right? So again, we have to start by doing some of that excavation work, getting really clear on what we actually want, what our patterns are that are blocking us, or where we're self-sabotaging, right? Really creating who we want to be in our dating life. So when that's so much of what we've talked about here today, looking at where we can step into more bravery, boldness, faith, trust, open-heartedness, playfulness, focusing on who we're being in love rather than just what are we getting from other people, right?
Yes.
And then after we do a lot of that deep inner work, the second half of the program is supporting our clients in creating their own dating adventures, which looks different for everyone. So
Absolutely.
I won't kind of go into too much of that, but like how to put themselves out there in the world in new, fun, exciting ways, creating brand new possibilities for connections intentionally, right? And it's been beautiful and powerful to see what our clients have created from there.
I think the coolest thing too is how it impacts them beyond relationship, right? We're not doing this. I work with people so much on their like whole lives and their businesses, and Evan's working with people individually, like on their self-worth and their dating. And then together we've created this Your Love Venture program. And it all seems to seep in, like love, relationships, dating is a microcosm of how you do everything in your life.
Yeah.
So the people that show up that are too busy to date, well, they're too busy for a lot of things that really matter to them.
Absolutely.
The people who show up and it's like a self-confidence thing, their self-confidence is impacting their career goals.
Yes.
And so while we're using relationships and love as the playground, I think the thing I've been most excited about is how it shifts people, in their, somebody that we worked with was like, decided through our program that they were ready to be a partner in their law firm.
Yeah.
That like the shifts that changed in relationship to love had them go, wait a minute, I am ready for this bigger area professionally. And I see that in our life too, that as we've leveled up our relationship, kind of the gradient in which that we play relationship at, it's leveled up the relationship in which we make money at, or that we want to make money at. That it all flows together.
I love that. And it's crazy because I'm realizing how quickly this conversation is gone. But I think as we're walking through that, what I would love to maybe close on is for you as you're thinking about that building of how you build the trust, how you build the connection back to yourself, align that with the personal and professional so that you can see that buildable success in your life. I would love to know as you think about the people that you've been working with and the people that are listening to this episode and saying, oh my gosh, like that's what I need. What is, two things, a nugget of wisdom you'd want to give them in the best way if they're like, I would love to talk to Evin and Alex more. What's the best way for them to do that? So nugget of wisdom and best way for them to connect with you guys. Always give it to Evin.
Wisdom.
I thought that was my role. I thought I was the wise one.
My nugget of wisdom, and just to really stay on theme here for the show, is that to befriend our fear.
That's good.
Yeah, like
love that.
fear isn't going anywhere, especially as we're growing, expanding. If anything you want that's new, that's beyond what you've had before, there's going to be fear alongside of that. So
Yeah.
my invitation for everyone is, rather than, it's really easy to judge ourselves for having fear, to shame ourselves for having fear, or to think, well, because I have fear, it means I'm not ready, so I need to wait. Once I don't have any fear, then I'll put myself out there, then I'll go for that opportunity, then I'll tell that person how I feel. And instead, if we could just choose to see fear as an indicator that we're moving towards something that really matters to us.
Yes.
Right? Like love it, cradle it, tuck it into our little, right? Like hold it close to our hearts, and then do the thing anyway.
Yes.
Put yourself out there, take the leap. I just promise it will open so much up for you. That fear is our humanity. We don't need to get rid of it. We just get to have it walk side by side with us.
I love that. I think that's beautiful and so well said. Alex, any nugget of wisdom you want to add, and anything y'all want to add so people know how to connect with you?
I would just add that we have to be unreasonable with our fear, that most of us live reasonable lives. And that's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. From most of our days are reasonable, right? Most of our days we're like going to the gym, getting our groceries, working our business. But the things that we all really want, whether it be love, children, I mean, it is unreasonable to grow a human being inside of your body and then have that come out of you and then raise it for 18 years.
That's fair.
It's unreasonable to leave a job and become an entrepreneur. It's unreasonable to write a book or to do what you're doing, sitting here thinking you can, right? Like you can create a TV show for yourself. That's actually unreasonable. And when I say that, it's not impossible.
Right.
The justifications, the circumstances, all the way reasons I can't write that book. I can't become an entrepreneur. I can't put myself out there in love. Everything we want, it actually makes really good sense for us not to do it.
Yeah.
And so it's that when we find ourselves met with fear, it's how do I be unreasonable? How do I do the thing against all the nuggets of logic and reasons and excuses, and how do I do it anyway? And I think that's where all of our joy and fulfillment, and at the end of our life, when we look back, that's what's going to have us go, we lived a great life because we were unreasonable. So if you're an unreasonable person,
yes,
people that talk to us, right? It's way more reasonable to just have things go the same way and not change anything and just keep hoping that the next person might be your person or anything else that you're up to. If you are unreasonable and you want something to go different, if you have something you really desire, whether it's around love or anything else, you can reach out to us you can go to yourloveadventure.com.
Perfect.
yourloveadventure.com. You can email us at, hello@yourloveadventure.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
It doesn't, like I said, whether it's a relationship or it's an individual, you can reach us through there. And
yeah,
I love it. You guys, thank you so much for being on the show. I love each of your journeys and I love how it's come together. Y'all are fantastic. And I know that you're going to have plenty of people from the Fearlessly Made You crew reaching out because they are also wanting to be unreasonable in their journeys and befriending fear. I appreciate both of you guys so very much. Thank you, Evin. Thank you, Alex. And thank you, Fearlessly Made You crew, for watching. And as always, stay tuned for the next episode of Fearlessly Made You.